As you'll see, here I have my sketch already done. And this is because I did a very rough, quick version on paper in my sketchbook. And I just took a photo with the iPad. I'm going to click here onto my layers, click on the N, and just bring down the opacity a bit. That way I can see the lines that I draw with a little clearer and better. I'm going to make a new layer for my line art. So usually I do my sketch either on paper or on the iPad. It doesn't matter, either way works. I'm going to go to my palette and pick my darkest color and then go a little darker. Make sure that my brush is the correct one. I use rusty pencil. Now I'm ready to begin on my new layer. So I zoom in where I can. Now, first of all, I kind of think, what do I want to be on a separate layer? Definitely my text and my little ribbon here. And maybe I'll put the rain and the clouds on a different layer this time. I'm trying to think ahead in case there's anything that I would like to animate in the future. But as of now, I'm just thinking about my picture and what I'm using it for. So it's kind of easy to follow my lines, my sketch. And as you'll see, I'm not doing it perfectly to a T. As I've shown you in another class, I gave you the basic idea for a sketch for my little bird character, which is working with ovals. So if you would like to see exactly how I created my birds, then please go over to one of those videos. You'll see a little more of the process of the sketching. Okay, his little eye, and this one here has a little crown on his head. I'm going to make little triangles for his feet, like this. So as you see again, sometimes I get different ideas as I do my line art, and it's okay not to be set in stone with the sketch that you've already done. All right, I'm going to go with my little mushroom since it comes next on the picture. Here it was pulled out from the ground, so it's not totally smooth. I can easily erase these little mistakes here. If you're doing this with another medium than the iPad, what I do usually for my sketches and then line art, I kind of erase, very roughly I erase my sketch. So here what I did is I changed the opacity, as you saw before. But I suggest if you're working on paper, then just roughly erase your sketch before you start your line art. That way you'll be able to see more clearly your line art, and also you'll have less work erasing at the end. Sometimes you don't even need to erase at the end if you've done it before. I think I'm going to make my flowers on a different layer as well. So then I can just continue to draw the mushroom in its entirety here. Sometimes I use my art for making clip art or for making stickers. Other times I use them for wall art. This one is a very simple little picture, so I might use it for clip art, and I'm using it for a little project. I'm making a little calendar. So I'm still on the same layer. The little beak is a triangle. So basically my bird are oval shapes. Oval for the body, oval for the eyes, of course, and as you see, there's like a invisible oval for the wing as well. I'm changing mine just a little. And you sort of have a cone shape here for the tail. All right, my little feet. So I'm making them a little taller than my sketch. Take your time, go slow, it's okay. Art is it's never to be rushed. Here I'm going to erase a little bit. All right, we have our cute little characters already. I'm going to make another layer. Before I do that, I'm going to label this. So I click on here, I put rename, I put my finger in the middle, and up comes the keyboard. A new layer, which I'm going to label right away as well, so that I don't forget. while I'm at it, I'm going to call this flowers. So I decided to make a new layer for my flowers. And that way I can include all the little flowers all over the place. Down the line, it will be easy to just separate them, and I will include in my little leaves. As you can see, they're very rough. Don't know if this is even 1 or 2, but I'll go with 2. These are just little rounded leaves. So here we're doing the month of April. So I added some flowers because it's the start of spring and there's lots of rain, so I've included that as well. I try to see what could be something related to the month or something related to me. So this time it's the month. I've had so much fun creating these little monthly pictures. If it's something that you enjoy too, I'm not sure if you're doing this for the sake of doing something every month, a little picture for your calendar, or maybe something you want to add to your planner, or maybe you're just doing this for art practice. Either way, it works. Okay, I think I've included all my flowers here. I'm sure if you know me by now, I like adding more little flowers as I go. I can't get enough flowers sometimes. But I will have to stop at some point. This one can go behind a little bit. And some little dots, some little circles. Okay, so we finished our flowers. I'm going to do another layer for the rain and the clouds. I will just call it clouds. And it will include the rain. There we go. I like adding little cute curlies to my clouds. Kind of matches the style of the cuteness, whimsical. So you just kind of, it's like a cursive writing. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I leave them out. I'm going to add little drops of rain. I try to make sure that they're all going the same direction. And here, because they're bouncing off the mushroom, I give them a little bounce. So my sketch is very rough, so some of them are not totally straight. That's what I want to make sure. I don't want the lines to be totally straight, but I want them to be parallel with each other. Be here, little drop, and the last little one. Again, here I have little bouncing. Maybe I'll put it down here, since I have the little... Alright, kind of, I don't see it so well because of my back of my sketch, but I'm going to add a few more little drops here, and I'm kind of giving them the same direction as these rather than the other ones that I had done before. I think it needs to flow better with the rain. A few more over here on my little April. I'm going to do a new layer for my ribbon, rename, and in here I'll include the text. I don't think it's called a ribbon. Maybe it's more like a banner or something like that. So you just make 2 straight parallel lines. What helps to get it in the center is I usually look with my eye and make a little dot, and then makes it easier to make the triangle go in like that. Alright, April, here we go. My text is very simple. You can use a font if you prefer, or you can use your fancy handwriting. I just like it very simple and minimalistic because my picture is already quite full. And here I've added a little piece of decor. The reason being is I try to take something from the picture, as these little hills, molehills. That's when the ants come out. Ants and slugs, they come out when it's raining. So I kind of took that same theme and I made a little border. I like to use it for either the top or the side of my page. I'm going to call it decor. That way I can include the ones that are over here, as well as the ones on the side. Here's another one. I'm kind of trying to fill up the spaces, I guess. And here we go with the side. What I'm going to do is move my sketch a little bit, because I don't need it for here anymore. Actually, I do need the polka dots, so I'm just going to select this part and move that part maybe a little bit further here. Kind of straighten it out. Maybe make it fully the size of my page. I'm gonna a little bit more towards trying to even it out, make it straight. If it's not perfect, I can always, of course, fix up my decor layer. Alright, so I'm just making a quick, not super straight, very hand-drawn looking line. I really enjoy making little decors like this. And it's the simplest little thing. You just have these half circles, half ovals. Sometimes I do double one. Actually, I alternate. Double and single. So if you want to add a little extra cuteness to your picture and you don't know what to add, I think these work so well. Again, they're not totally even. Some are a bit bigger, some are a little smaller, it doesn't matter. Which makes this piece of art very simple, and anyone can give it a try. Alright, there we go. I'm going to take off my layer just to check out what it looks like. I noticed that my ribbon is a little crooked, so I'm going to go for the arrow here, and I can move it slightly down on the right side. If you want to make sure that you have it totally right, you can also go here, go to Canvas, and Drawing Guide. Okay, so I kind of have it almost straight there, but it's fine because I think my banner is not totally straight. And here, this was my decor. I can also straighten that out a little bit, so I select it with my tool here, and with the arrow tool I can move it in place. I just have to move a tiny bit to the left side on the top. Did it move? And my ribbon I will bring down a little bit because otherwise these little decors are squished. Go back to my decors because some of these are up in the air. So I'm going to select these. I know that they're all on the same layer, so I can bring them down like this. Select these over here and bring these down a little more. I think this is good, so I'm going to take off my guides. That way I can see my picture clearer. And I think we're done with the line art. Moving on to our next step, we're going to add in the fun part. I always like to put in some color. So I went ahead, I looked into my color palette for this project, and I picked very quickly certain colors just to see where they would look nice. That way I have a little plan to work with. So I'm going to my palette here. This is for my project, which is a monthly calendar. And for my mushroom, I'm going to start with the light yellow. It's kind of a yellowish green. I'm going to go under my picture. Actually, now I can delete my sketch layer. I don't need it anymore. And I will add a new layer for the colors, which I'll put right under the picture. That way I can still see my black lines. And I'm going to use the same rusty pencil. I really like the pencil texture of it, but I'm going to up the sides. Okay, I'm going to go to my next color. I'm going to see if it's dark enough, actually. Let me try it. I would like to put a little bit more contrast, so I'm going to go down a little bit, make it a little darker. And I'm going to, change my brush size because I have some tight corners here. Maybe I'll go to this side first too. And the other little tight spots, I'm coloring those first with my smaller brush. And then I can move on again to a bigger brush. The bigger brush helps me to go a little quicker. I guess it's kind of working like with paintbrushes. You choose a smaller brush for your thin lines, and then you can use a bigger brush for your big spaces. If you're working with color pencils or markers, you don't have to worry about that part. Oops, I went out a little bit. I'm going to fix that just so it doesn't go into the birdie color. Okay. And as you remember, we had some polka dots, but now I don't. Oh, on top of it, I deleted my sketch layer. So I'm going to use the layer of the colors just to know where my little polka dots were. I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to use the color white. So it's not perfect here, but it's just a rough idea where my circles are, kind of the size of each one. I think I had one here. So you can make some full circles. I like the little umbrella look. I made it a mushroom instead. I thought it was cute and something different. Alright, we can take off that layer. And I can put this layer back to normal. I changed the opacity so I could see underneath that layer. Our mushroom is done. Our next, I'm leaving the birds white. I'm going to use my blue, or maybe I'll do the pink flowers first. So I go to my palette. Actually, these two, I'm going to pinch them and merge them together. Underneath my flower layer, I'm going to add another layer and go to my palette for the pink flowers. I'm not sure if I'm going to make all the flowers pink. Maybe I'll leave a few white ones. And here, hopefully it should cover the pumpkin. Why do I say pumpkin? It will cover the mushroom, yay. And these little flowers, so that's all our flowers. Oh, we have another one here. Not so crazy how the pink looks on the color of the mushroom, but I don't think it's enough contrast. Maybe this one, so we have a little pink on this side. So I go back and forth and look at my picture, making sure it suits me. Maybe I'll do one of these flowers. There we go, I like it. Moving on to our leaves. So I didn't color all of them, but I made a few. I'm going to use, actually first of all, I'm going to merge my flowers. I'm going underneath, actually the leaves are also included in the flowers, so I will add a new layer. Underneath again, go to my palette and choose a dark blue. Maybe add a little bit more blue to it, like so. Let's take this layer off so I can see what I'm doing with my leaves. It's kind of a grayish blue. If you want a bit more life, a little bit more color to your picture, feel free to add your preferred green for the leaves. It's kind of a turquoise, bluish green. I chose that one because I like this color and also because it's kind of reminds me of rain. It's a little bit gloomy and sad when it rains. Of course, we have the beautiful flowers coming out at this time of year, because that's what helps us appreciate the beautiful things. Having the rain, I don't usually complain because I know that it's a good thing. Alright, I think the leaves are all done, and I will merge the two. Now we can move on to the clouds, another layer under the clouds. And for my original picture, I had made them, I think, a lighter version of the blue, which is this one. I'm going to try out, I'm not sure if I'm going to just draw them. I'm going to try like this. So I'm just drawing alongside my line art on the inside part. But you know what? I might just go over it. And maybe I'll take off my black lines. I'll see. Because as of now, I don't really notice the blue so well. The bluish gray kind of blends in too much with the clouds, and then it's too thick, so I don't like it so much. I'm going to try taking off my black lines. So what I can do, because I do prefer them without the lines, I'm going to select my clouds without the rain. three fingers, and I'm going to cut and paste. So it's cutting it from that layer and it's pasting it onto a new layer. I'm going to do the same with the other clouds. I could have done them all at one go actually. So again, my 3 fingers down, cut and paste. So I'm going to merge those two, and there I have the line art, which I'm going to take off for now because I think I like it this way. Did I add any other colors? I'm looking. I think that's it. I'm going to go with this blue and add a little more blue, and I'm wondering if I will do my decor. Just give my decor a little bit of color. Maybe just one of the lines, so I'm just doing the small lines. I'm not sure yet if I'll use these, but sometimes I like adding little extra details to my art in line with the picture, and sometimes I end up using it, sometimes I don't. It depends on the project. Actually, I started out drawing these pictures just for fun. It wasn't for any particular project. And then after sketching them all, I was like, hey, I could use them for a little calendar project. And now I'm using it as a little art project with you. I'm going to go to my clouds, and maybe I will see what it looks like if I add a little line for my drops of rain. I'm not doing it fully, that way it kind of stands out a little. So go through your whole picture and just do one side. I kind of do the line and a little bit of the curve of your drops. It kind of, because the drops actually have no color to them. It's the reflection of what is near it. And I'm just putting bluish. I think this looks good. Well, we're done our coloring. Very simple, minimalistic, but it just brings a little bit more life to the picture. Now that we have our picture all colored, I like to add in a little shading. So I go to my palette and I'm going to pick a light gray all the way to the side here. And I'm going to go on top of each of my layers. So here's my picture. I'm also going to show you how I organize my layers. So once the coloring is done, sometimes I merge the two, the line art, as you can see, and the colors. So this is my main picture. Since I have enough space for layers, I'm going to keep them separate. Again, here I have my flowers. Although my flowers, I merge them because it's something that I might move around and animate in the future. The clouds and the rain is one layer. These are my line art. So you remember from the last class, I put all my layers separately. This is my decor coloring and my decor line art. So I'm not going to do any shading on the decor. I'm mainly going to do shading on my main picture. So I'm going on top of my colors and I'm adding a new layer there. And for that layer, I'm going to multiply. Right now it's on normal, multiply. That way it will go over the color, just in a darker shade. So basically what I'm doing, I'm keeping my same rustic pencil. You can, if you're doing this on paper, you can either use your water paints with the color a little bit darker or add a little black. And if you're doing this with color pencil, you choose a darker version of that color, or you use a gray pencil or even black, and you do a light little shading like this. So I don't know if you can see it. I want it a little darker, I just choose a darker gray. So I'm just doing this part because it's to help the mushroom stand out a little bit where it needs to. So this is the behind, so that's why I'm doing this part. Maybe this corner here a little bit, and I like my pencil strokes. Again, here I'll go a few lines here under the beak, because if there's a little shade, and I can color this full stem right there. Maybe make 1 or 2 lines of these to show that some are, that they kind of bulge out a little bit sometimes. Moving on to the top of my mushroom. So because there's a few flowers on top, I'm going to add a little bit of shading under there. I like the little pencil look in this. And that's why I suggest if you're working with color pencils, just use a black color pencil for your shadings. See that? It just helps the whole mushroom to kind of come to life a little bit. Here again, behind my flowers, depending on where you kind of look, depending on where your light source is coming from. Sometimes with cute little whimsical art like this, it doesn't even, I don't even go by the rules. I'm just putting a little shadow all over. All right, moving on to our little birdies. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow here in the beak, under his eyes, and because his wing is a little bit higher, actually I'm going back to my lighter gray. I don't think it makes much difference. So again, I'm doing underneath his wing. A little bit on the wing part as well. If you want, you can always add little shapes like this. Kind of looks a little more feathery. And I even like adding a few little lines like this on his belly. And do the same with this one. So here his belly is here. Kind of turning his head since the eyes are on the side. Actually. No, his belly would probably be here. Well, his head would be here and his belly here, so we'll stick with that. As you can see, we're not following proportions in our cute little whimsical art, are we? Because he's missing his wing as well. So it would be around here, which I'm going to do the shading of it, and then I will include it in my line art. So I like showing the little pencil strokes. Let's add some little feathery look. Even here, his little crown, and in his beak, kind of curved. For his tail, I'm going to do a little bit in the back there. That one is behind, maybe a little bit here. And for his feet, I like to put a little bit of shade on his back leg. Here too. This one in behind as well. And here a little bit as well, because again here, this one will be almost totally dark. Moving with his tail. A few more little strokes on this part too. Alright, I think it's okay. So before I continue, I don't want to forget, so I'm going to go to my line art, which is here picture. I'm going to erase this little part and add in, it was a very dark color and then again darker. It's my same pencil, I'm just not sure if I have the size right. That way he's not missing his little wing. Even add a little bit of one here. Then I'm going to want to go back to my shading and add a little shading to the top and bottom. So, kind of like how it looks. Let's see, maybe you don't notice a big difference, but I'm going to take off that layer. Still a little something. Another thing I like to do, actually first, let me also do the shading of the flowers. So again, I make a new layer on top and I multiply it. Keep my gray color, and I'm going to go for a few little strokes in the middle. So it's so minimal and so small, so I'm not sure if I'll even notice it, but I just wanted to show you a little of the process of how I color, a little bit. Even if it's adding a very little slight coloring, it makes a little difference. So yeah, for the leaves, so I just do a little bit on the bottom like that. And it looks like I'm just adding a darker shade of it, of the same color, but it's just a gray that I'm multiplying with the color. So a few little strokes on the inside of the flowers, here on the bottom of the leaves, and here on the bottom of the flowers. As if there was a little shadow. This one can have a little bit bigger strokes since it's a bigger flower. This one very little, few. And I continue until all my flowers are... These flowers are quite small, so you don't really notice a difference, but just a little something. And here's a bigger leaf. I can add a little bit more shade. There we go. So I've shaded the whole picture that I want to. I don't need to shade the clouds or anything. I think they're good as is, just because they're very cute. I'm not going to make them too realistic with shading. The last thing I like to do is add a little bit of highlights. That's my favorite thing. That's like the cherry on top of the cake. So I will multiply these 2 layers already and add a new one. And this one, instead of normal or multiply, I'm going to overlay it. So this is for our flowers. I don't think I'm going to add anything for the flowers, but I wanted just to add something to these 2 leaves. And I'm going to bring the opacity almost all the way down. This is how I usually color my leaves, to have a very simple look like that. Let's see what it would do if I add a little bit to my petals. It's not super necessary, but if you want to do it on the bigger flowers, you can go ahead and do that. Just a little bit of highlight on the edges, kind of where they catch the sun. And these as well. Just a little dot type of thing. There we go. So that was for our highlights for the flowers, which I will merge now into flower layer. Here we have our multiplied layer for the rest of our picture. I can already merge them, but I can also just add another layer, overlay that one again before I color it, and do any highlights that I want for the rest of my picture. I'm going to start here with just a couple of the lines. So the other side, some of the lines on the other side of the shadow, I'm going to, or where I don't have the shadow part, I'm going to do, over here, I'm going to do the highlight. I think this really adds a lot to it. I'm going to up my brush size a little, and a little bit on this part. So as you can see, now you can see a little bit more highlight and contrast going on. And I think I'd like to use it, especially over here, for the top of my mushroom. I might make it a little bit bigger, the brush. I'm not doing it totally on the edge, because I feel that it helps make it look a little more rounded when it's not totally on the edge. Here I'm doing a little bit on the bottom. I'm having to do quite a few strokes because I brought the opacity way down. Alright, I think it looks okay. It doesn't look so roundish, it looks a little bit more flattish. So to fix that, I would need to up my size. And let me see, I will erase this part. And instead, I'll put it more in the middle, but bigger. See, it kind of makes a difference. There you see a little reflection. If it's a little too much, I can always bring the opacity down this way as well. Okay, I think it's good like that. Let's see without it. You see, it just kind of adds a little something to me that I love. All right, we can go ahead and merge those layers. That's the line art, this is the coloring, and the flowers. So as we had labeled them before, but because some of them we merged them, they lost their name, because it only works if I can merge this one down with another one. I can merge the colors down to the ribbon, but I can't merge the ribbon down to the colors and keep the text ribbon. So I'll just leave it like that for now. There's not many layers to work with, so it's not that important for me to continue to label them. But my picture, I know that if I have the label here, underneath is always the color besides here. So some of them I will rename. I can see very clearly on the iPad my layers, like because of the colors, because of the shapes. But I noticed that if I bring this into Photoshop, it won't, this is okay again. Then into Photoshop, I won't be able to see them as well. I won't actually get to see any of the pictures here. I just see layer 1, layer 2, layer 30, whatever. So when I work with a lot of layers, I do like to name them. This one is our black lines. Okay, here we have our clouds. Oh, maybe I will call this one rain instead. There we go. And this one is our clouds. And it's just the color. This one is the line art, which I'm okay to leave like that. Ribbon, and here we have our color under the decor. So that works perfectly. Anyway, this is our finished product, our little month of April.